Hi everybody, Jo here again. Lovely to see you. How are you keeping? Hope you're keeping well and that you had a lovely weekend. Now today we're going to have a bit of a fun. We're going to have some play with Dinkles. And again, a few of you have been in touch and said, could I use Dinkles? So we're going for a bit of, obviously we're coming into summer here. So we've got sea themes, we've got fish. Now, also the background I'm making, I'm going to use our lovely Alana. But you could just use, if this was for a male friend, you could use a lovely fish. We've got the fish set and then we've got the larger ones, Arlo. Have a look round and there's lots of beautiful, you could use some of your ferns. They would look nice underwater. But we've got our lovely, today I'm going to use the sea flower and the marine kelp just here. Have a look at the underwater section. And this little guy here is just one of the mini stamps, the mini fish. So it's lovely what you can do with your Dinkles. And I'm thinking of sea themes underwater, but I know you are going to take this and create the most amazing designs. Have a look through your stamps. See what you've got that you could use. So I'll bring it closer so you can have a look. Look at that background. So we're going to start off with our watercolour card. And I've got a piece here, and this is our hot pressed lovely watercolour card. And when I started off, watercolour card was quite bobbly, but this is lovely and smooth, perfect for stamping on. So I'm going to do my stamping first. Now, I know you're going to ask me, with Dinkles, it's up to you. Some people like to make the background first. I'm going to stamp first. And that's purely because for me, that's the way I work. Just because once this card gets wet, I find it's easy to stamp on before it does. But as I say, that's just me. And I'm going to come in with the Versafine Clair, and this is the Nocturne permanent ink. But I'm just going to put some clear gloss embossing powder over the top. So I'm going to take my lid off and have that ready and get my mini stamp here ready. Now, Versafine Clair is a slower drying ink, which is why I'm always saying to you, remember to blot your work. So we will have time to add the embossing powder. So no rush. Obviously don't go away and have your brew and come back, but you don't need to panic. Now, she's a beautiful stamp and a lot of her is silhouette. The rest is fabulous detail. So I'm just going to spend my time making sure I get the ink on. And I'm just going to stamp her sideways, just because for me, it's easier that way. Sorry, excuse me. And as I say, it's all about what's easiest for you, how you create best. What's right for one won't be right for another. And that's why we've got lots of different lovely talented people on the creative team, so that, we get lots of different inspiration, because we're not all the same. Well, you certainly wouldn't want two of me, that's for sure. Now, there she is. Beautiful. So I'm going to come in with my fish and I'm going to ink him up and just stamp him by your hand in first generation. And then I'm going to have a second, a third and a fourth. Now, they will be paler, but I just want that variety of tones, because underwater, things are different shades, and I just think it'll help with the design. So I've got my embossing powder, and again I tip the whole jar on and we'll just move it round a little and then gentle tap its bottom, and then this will all go back in. And again, it always amazes me. I'm sure more goes back in. It really is magical stuff. Again, give that a tap, but most importantly, get that lid on. Now, I'm going to use my heat tool. So for this, I am just going to heat it up first, so it'll be a little bit noisy. I'm putting it on the highest heat, and I'm going to heat it up for just a couple of seconds before I pop it on my work, just so I know it's nice and hot. And then we're just going to start embossing at the base of the design and just heat up and move round. And hopefully you'll get to see that as we heat up, and the heat tool's quite close, look, And you can see those fish go. And you can tell where it's embossed beautifully, you'll see that shine, that raise. Now, obviously, these are paler, which is exactly what I wanted. So, happy with that. And then I'm just going to add some of our lovely kelp at the bottom. And I'm going to come in for this. I'm going to use, again, I'm sticking with Versafine Clair, and I'm going to use Warm Breeze. And again, as I say, you've used your heat tool, so your card will be slightly warped, but it will go flat again, so don't worry. And I just want to have, again, we'll have a little bit of second. I love to use second generation. I think it's something, if we're not careful, we forget about. And I just think we've got that ink on the stamp, so why not use it? And then next, I'm going to come in with Avocado. I'm thinking get the green tones in, because again, with the sea, we're sort of thinking blues and greens. And this is the sea flower. Very pretty stamp, this. And I'm just going to stamp this over the top, because again, I'm thinking these lovely sea, I mean, you could have all sorts of, I mean, what do you have near you? Corals, all sorts of lovely. I mean, don't forget we've got our lovely sea urchins. But I'm going to stop there. I don't want to overcook it. And then what I want to do is just add a little bit more interest. Now, it might be you're happy with it at that, but I just want to add a little bit more interest in the background. So I'm going to come in with a sentiment, and this is called Deeper Than the Ocean. And it's lovely, dream higher than the sky and deeper than the ocean. So very useful whether you're doing a piece of artwork using the sky or the ocean. And for this, I've gone for Lilac Bloom. Now, I would always recommend stamp it on your copy of paper first and just decide whether you're going for first or second generation. I'm actually going to use both, but I'm thinking I'm going to stamp first generation where I can read the verse, and then come in with second generation either side. And then I'm going to ink up again and just use a combination of, we'll stamp that there, and maybe just catch that there, little bit there. And I'm just going to work my way down using that combination of first and second generation. What I quite like to do at this point is actually go back up. So I've got my first generation again at the base. And then I can have some second and third where I almost want it paler. I want my deepest colours. I don't want them in the middle. So where I've got a little gap, just that on there, and then we'll just have that there, and maybe just a little bit, but that's enough. Again, walk away from, and I'm just going to give that a bit of a blot. And then we're going to add our colour. So I'm going to do this first, just before I add the Dinkles, and I'm going to come in with our Signo, the metallic markers. Now, you can add this after, but the reason I'm doing it now, and I know you're going to ask me, is just because of speed. Now, at home, you could add this afterwards when your work is dry. But obviously, I know that you won't want to stay with me for sort of the next 20 minutes, will you? Some of you have got things to do. Mind you, I think we've all got things to do, haven't we? Although one day, maybe, I could come in and join you for a little bit longer. So I'm just adding this colour now. And what's lovely, because we've embossed, there's a gutter, a raised edge around that stamping. So I can come up in with my gel pen, and I've almost got an edge to follow. And I'm just filling in some of these gorgeous, beautiful, I'm thinking the shimmery colours. And then let's bring some green. The blues and the greens are just fabulous. Now, again, it might be you decide you want to add some pink. There's a gorgeous bright pink. And then I'm just gonna, we've got our lovely eyes on the fish. We'll have a little bit of blue in there. Now, you can go over the top when it's dry, so don't worry too much, but I've got the basis of my colour there and that lovely shimmer. So now to dinkle it. And I think you could batch card make this. Now, the colours I've gone for my dinkles: Blue Dragon, Sea Blue, a little bit of Lime Divine just for that greeny tone, and some porcelain. I love porcelain. I just want, if possible, if you can see off this one, a bit of a lighter area at the top, and that's where I'm going to use the porcelain. Now, it's up to you how you use your dinkles. I like to pop some on my card first. So I'm going deeper colour here, and a little bit of sea blue here, and then some, no, I'm going to leave the Lime Divine, some porcelain at the top. And I'm going to come in with that Lime Divine after. But what I'm going to do is get myself a piece of kitchen towel ready and my lovely puffer. Just because that can move the dinkles around, and I've got a magic little tool. Now, you can use a paintbrush for this just to help keep the card nice and flat, and I'm going to spritz, and I just want to move those colours to start off with, and I want that deeper colour. It's funny because I breathe in when I spritz this bit here, because I'm sat here, my sweatshirt, my tummy, I'm like, oh. You might want to wear a pinny for this. I should have got my Lavinia apron, shouldn't I? Now, you can see here, I mean, look at that lovely flow. Now, it might be you're happy and you want to leave that, but I want to just work a little bit more with that. So I want to add a little bit of the green tone here. And I didn't add it straight away because I wasn't sure exactly how much I wanted. And you can just, you see how that, and you can play, so you can use your puffer tool to just move the colours round. And you see how where we've done the embossing, it works as a resist, so it's going mainly round the fish. So let's take a little bit of green up there, but I don't want too much. You see how we've got the nice white up there, and also you'll find the puffer helps to dry it. Now, if you've got a lot and you've puddled it and you want to mop some up, just use your kitchen roll and mop it up. And again, that's another way of drying it. Now, I must admit, I'm happy with that. I love this movement here. Now, if you want to add a little bit more white, so if I bring this up, but you can literally add as much, keep adding colour, adding water. So I want to add a little bit more white. So I'm going to add my Posca. And for extra highlight, you can either flick your Posca in the wet areas, look, or dab it. And then come in with your paintbrush and just move it. So here, we've got quite a lot, so I want to move that. I'm just going to mop that little bit up where it's gone. Again, we've got the resist there, so it's fine. So here, look, when you wet it, and the Posca, you can move it, and especially with adding it to the water. So if I show you here, in this area, I can just come in and just move it. And if I want to light a bit, so say here, so add some Posca, and then just with a brush, and I just want to add that sort of watery effect, and it's only permanent when dry, the Posca, so I can move it, and it looks like that watery effect dripping through. So here, let's add a little bit more here, and just give that sort of shape of like water dripping. Now you can always lift your card up. You see how that's lighter then? It'll have that lovely shimmer. And it's a great thing to do this, and it works so well with the dinkles. I'm happy. I love that bit there. And look how, can you see I'm so happy with that bit, the way it's sort of moving away from our lovely mermaid. So I'm actually going to stop because I love that. But you will just play and move it round. What I will do with just a little cotton pad over the mermaid when it's dry, just give it a little buff. and it will take off any, again, because we've got that resist, it'll just catch a little bit of that colour. Now I'm just going to move all this out of the way. And as I say, when it's dry, if you want, look, you can come back in and highlight a couple and just take your time and highlight a couple of these lovely scales. But I would wait, I'll just show you a couple, but I would wait until it's properly dry. And I don't want to use my heat tool on it again. I don't want to over force it. And also I don't want to overheat that embossing powder. So that's why I'm not heating it up again. I'm just going to leave this, it will dry. In my opinion, it dries much nicer and the card will go back. I mean, it's nearly flat now, perfectly. And it's all about having fun. And look, we've still got clean hands. How did that happen? So, I hope you're going to have fun with that. Just think of all those backgrounds you can stamp up, and then you could have a dinkling session. You could be messaging me and going, Joe, guess what I'm doing this afternoon? I'm having a little dinkling session. And I've just added a couple of words from our gorgeous Lavinia stickers, the sentiment stickers. And remember, you get 3 colour tones. You get 1 sheet of black, 1 sheet of the white, and 1 of the lovely vintage or the buff. I mean, I've got a couple of sheets going of each. Mind you, I think I might even need some more. So I've just gone for inspirational and by the sea for this one. So I'm hoping you found it inspirational, and I hope it makes you look through your stamps, get your dinkles out and have a play. And I can't wait to see what you create. So you take care, and most of all, have fun. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.